What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 10 of 45 Minutes of Noise. I am your host, slash your boy, Chris Pugh, and I am joined by my very good friend and Mr. Cynical himself, Samuel Lewis. Mate, after a tremendous evening that we had last night that we're about to discuss, how are we?
We are very well, thank you very much. We are very well. What a night, man. Oh
Mate,
my
great,
gosh.
great moment of growth for us. Back of the gig, right? Right. We're standing at the back of the gig, comfortable distance to the bar, and back home by half past midnight. A tremendous moment of growth for me and you. 6 years ago, we'd still be out now. We'd just be getting in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. I had a terrific time, and it was nice. It's nice to experience gigs in your 30s. I actually spoke to a couple of people who were like, "Yeah, I went into the pit for Bullet," and I'm like, "I hope you had fun." I think I'd have pulled a muscle on my approach to the mosh pit, to be honest. So I'm way at the back here. I don't want to get punched on a Friday night. And I had just a tremendous time. Like what was really, really heartwarming was just seeing, I was looking around and aside from the typical amount of folks that I was noticing sort of in their 20s and like, sort of tattoos and long hair and things like that and sort of, kids really, there was a lot of people that I knew have normal jobs now, but
Yeah, yeah,
came out of the woodwork for this. There's a lot of normal looking haircuts, a lot of
yeah,
people in
yeah.
like just like shirts and normal jeans. Usually, sometimes I go to a metal gig and I'm like, what do you do Monday to Friday? Like, where
Mm,
do you live? Like, there's people, there's people at certain gigs that are like they've just come out of like a cave or something. But there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you're a teacher, you're an accountant. But
yeah.
Bullet for Valentine were your favorite band when you were 14, and this is like a proper throwback. And I really, really enjoyed that. It felt like a really special night about what is now becoming, which is weird to say, a part of metal history, isn't it? That period of time,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mid 2000s metalcore run, he's now becoming like the way that if you were talking about thrash metal in 2004 and 5, like it's that kind of distance now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to think of. But yeah, it was just a tremendous time, and both bands did a wonderful service to their iconic records.
It's fascinating that as you get older, that the things that you just don't care about at all. You mentioned like the mosh pit there, and when I was in, I want to say from like 19, probably younger, when I say from like 17 to like 27. I was like, we have to go into at least one pit. It's like some kind of we haven't been to the gig if we haven't been into a pit. This we when you're younger, the things that you randomly care about, that when you get older, you're like, God, why does that even? Why would you even ever care about that? And like last night, and when we saw Foo Fighters, which is a great example of like the back of the gig is just the greatest, the best place to be, closer to the bar, space around you, more comfortable. Honestly, it's hilarious that I spent 10 years being like, no, we have to be in the center of the action. We have to be where the pits are. Like it matters.
We
It
have
is
to
just
be
hilarious.
we have to be less comfortable with a worse view.
And it's just, it's
It's the
hilarious.
thing.
The things that you care about when you're younger are hilarious, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But like, it's the throes of youth.
Yeah, that's the
The
point,
throes
mate.
of youth and like you're chasing these experiences. Um and I've had those. I've had those. I've been a pit where my mate broke his nose at a Trivium gig. So I've already done that. Sort of watching him
Yeah.
bleed in a bathroom somewhere. But it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I know we're gonna talk about it as part of the news. But Trivium are like like a staple. They're kind of like you know exactly what you're gonna get kind of thing in terms of a live performance. They've been
Yeah.
one of metal's greats for the last 2 decades now. They're an A-class performers every single time, and they've sort of grown into this veteran band on the metal stage. Bullet, we have a different relationship because obviously they're shot out like a cannon with the poison, and then kind of continue that momentum a fair bit with Scream and Fire, but then obviously sort of faded away. And last night was a reminder, I thought, that when they were very good, they were very, very good. The
Mhm.
clarity of the sound, the power of the performance, how great those songs still hold up, how well their performances hold up. Um, like if they had written two records like The Poison, they could just dine on that at like NIA style shows, really, for the rest of their careers.
We are accidentally slipping into the news here, so I'll just give you guys the heads up on what we're going to cover today. Coming up on today's show, we've got reviews on Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine's Poison Descendancy Tour, and we've got album reviews on Bleeding Through and Lacuna Coil. Before we get into the show, we should tell you how you can support us, and the best way to do that is by liking slash subscribing on YouTube or whichever podcast service you use to listen slash watch us. You can follow us on X at Noise Podcast, as well as following the Noise platform in general at Noise UK on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You should head to noise.co.uk for all your latest news, album reviews, features, and interviews. And before we begin, a big thank you, as always, to friends of the show, Liquid Death, for being our favourite thirst murderers. We're going to start with Lacuna Coil, Sleepless Empire. It's out on the 14th of February via Century Media Records. It's the Italian gothic metal giant's 10th album and the follow-up to 2019's Black Anima. And before we get into this, Sam, this is I should open with this. This is the first record I've heard from Lacuna Coil, and it was hard for me to not immediately have concerns I was about to spend an hour with a slightly better Avatar or Ginger, which are successful bands in their own right. Like, but Avatar and Ginger really don't do much
Oh,
for me.
I was about to
Um,
spend an hour with is a hilarious analogy. Like you're on a date with the band, and you're like, so what else do you do?
what I am happy to reveal though that though moments of this record don't really hit for me, I feel like in my first experience with Lacuna Coil, I would say that they're significantly better than their contemporaries, such as Epicat or Arch Enemy or New Year's Day.
Yes,
I don't know how you
I,
feel about that.
I like two Arch Enemy songs, so yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I
Right,
like
that's
three on
two
this
more than
record
me.
at least.
Um, I think that the the worst. I think the worst thing a reviewer could ever say is if this is the kind of thing you like, then you'll really like it. Like it is that is the most horrific, boring, the kind of safe comments that a reviewer could ever make. Like it's
Hold on, I've got to
such
delete some notes.
like it's so baseline. Like honestly, it's like saying if you want to spend your money on it, spend your money on it. Like it means just a comment that means that it's so
When you press play,
superfluous.
sound appears if that's what you're into.
Yeah, it's so superfluous. It just means nothing. So I've tried to avoid using that kind of tagline throughout this. What I would say is that there's moments on this where the vocals are pretty incredible. Christina and Andrea, they have a
Yeah.
phenomenal kind of symbiotic relationship. Like if you look like the opening song, like The Siege, I was like astonished by this opening. So it's kind of explosive, aggressive, and the lead vocals from Christina are really stunning. And then you get this kind of playoff between Andrea and Christina and the
Yeah.
production. A moment to discuss the production on this album because it's
Yeah,
bloody good, isn't it?
yeah, it is really polished. It's really well to put together. It's heavier and riffier and chunkier at times than I expected. It sounds really strange as a metal band, but like I expected a little bit more open chord stuff, focusing on like sort of synths and operatic and thematic ideas, rather than some of the chugging that was heard here, and a couple of guitar solos, I'll note, as well, which was really exceptional
Some
for me.
beautiful solos on this, yeah.
But I agree. It opens really strong. The chorus on this are just fantastic, and there's a lot of like classic Lacuna Coil sort of tropes here. Especially on sort of the chorus on Oxygen and the chugging at the end of that was really good. Um, Scarecrow, really nice, really good. Wonderful bridge, nice back and forth once again. The internal shadows, mosh call before the riff near the end. Really tight, really excellent. Gravity, I was like a little bit of like early Wage War style on the metalcore sort of like heavy kind of groove and the polished riff work and everything.
Can I
Um,
jump in on Gravity and ask you a question?
yeah, sure.
So I Gravity's track four, right? And
Yeah.
you got Siege, which has got this really explosive opening. You've got Oxygen, which has got this the pomp and circumstance of great alternative metal with a big throbbing chorus and scathing vocals from Christina. And then like with Scarecrow, I it was the first time in the record that I actually like noticed a specific riff. Um, bless me. It's the first time on the record I noticed a specific riff because my attention tended to kind of gravitate so much towards the vocals. But on Gravity, did you feel like there's a chance that the cards of the record have already been shown almost too early. And then Gravity is just another version of what's happened prior in a different tonality.
There was a little bit of that. There's a little bit of that. There's an element of this where I thought there's an established blueprint, and I imagine they're going to go back to it a few times. Um, but then there's some stuff a little bit later on in the record that sort of diverts from that somewhat, and I thought that was sort of rescued it a little bit. Like for example, hosting the Shadow featuring Randy Blythe, and I just put
Great
Randy Blythe
moment.
three question marks. Um,
Mate, that song's amazing, isn't it?
yeah, it works really well. It works really, really well. Um, I thought that they could have chosen a better song for him to be on though. I think they've picked like one of the more low-key tunes for him to sort of maybe to accentuate the vocals a little bit, but maybe I'd have seen him on the sort of chunkier, heavier ones would have been a little bit good for me. But then there's some really nice musician work, like the end of in non patris was like the guitar work at the conclusion. That's just sensational. The vocals on Sleepless Empire are terrific. Like
Yeah,
just terrific. There's like that extended vibrato that she has. The continuation bit is really nice at the 2 minute 30 mark that they're doing with the musicianship's really, really nice. I found some metalcore notes on Sleep Paralysis and the solo at the end. Sort of brings the song back, and then she hits this high note at the end of Sleep Paralysis that's just stunning. And then I didn't think we needed in the meantime necessarily. That felt interchangeable to me.
yeah.
And then the rattling interrupted kind of kind of like riff that they've like taken sort of from the Code Orange school of riff writing um was quite nice, but ultimately I felt that the last two or three tunes could be fairly interchangeable. But overall, this ticks the boxes of the genre tropes that it's appealing to, but specifically for Lacuna Coil fans to be like, how are the choruses, Sam? Great. What are the riffs like? They're there and they're very good.
Yeah.
And the song's written well, yeah, and there's some great musicianship throughout. Gothic and atmospheric at times, very like that's kind of what I would be wanting if I was like a humongous Lacuna Coil fan and I'd listen to the previous nine records, and that's what you get really. This is a very good record, and Lacuna Coil have knocked out another sort of really solid record that sort of will, I think, satiate their fans quite easily.
I think a nice way for me describing this record is that when you're a band that has got the following that Lacuna because Lacuna Coil are massive. When you're a
Yeah,
band that's got the following the size of Lacuna Coil and you've got the experience the size of Lacuna Coil, I think there's a there's a benchmark of quality that you would expect to be hit on a record. When you're on record 10 with this amount of money behind the
yeah,
band and this size of
yeah,
following and this level of experience, there's a certain benchmark that you would expect. This should at the very least be good. And I feel like this sits somewhat above that benchmark comfortably. I,
oh
I
yeah,
I would be surprised if a huge Lacuna Coil fan put in the comments, by the way, this is the best Lacuna Coil album they've ever written. I'd be surprised. I feel like there's probably like a huge, like monolithically great Lacuna Coil album out there that I've just not heard. Um, but I feel like this is at the very least a really good gothic metal album with some great moments. Like even as someone who doesn't necessarily listen to gothic metal a lot, Christina, her vocals are absolutely amazing, and the trade-off between her and Andrea is exceptional. His growls are a really really nice backdrop. But when they blend the two together, there's these real huge moments of like grit, but also purity on the album. And again, it's hard to not listen to the record and completely direct your attention to the vocals 24/7. But when you do take a moment to really listen to the riff work, there are some beautiful riffs on this as well. Some absolutely stunning solos. Is it on Scarecrow? There's an unbelievable solo on Scarecrow. I think it's like this really punching lead riff. I actually really like this. It's not something I think I would consistently go back to, but what I would say is it sits above the benchmark of what I would expect from a band in their 1994, so in their like 30th year. It sits above that benchmark for me.
yeah. I completely agree. I completely agree. This is a very, very good record, and you're right that it sits above that benchmark of quality for Lacuna Coil. It's a nice way of putting it. I think, I think it does everything you're gonna want. Really. It sort of ticks all the boxes, and there's some really good songs on here. There's some really powerful choruses. The opening 4 or 5 tracks are really excellent in the context of what they're producing. And the vocal spin-off between the two is just like a nice layer where it doesn't feel so rigid, where it's like one and then the other and one and then the other. And then the introducing the features and stuff keep it versatile. And there's some really nice moments of instrumentation and melody and solo and stuff. And as always, it's polished and well put together. It's a good record.
That is where we're going to leave off this episode of 45 Minutes of Noise. I want to thank you very much if you are still listening. We are going to be back in 2 weeks' time where, if things go to plan, we're going to be reviewing the new Killswitch Engage album. And I'm excited about it.
Are you
I, I,
comfortable? Are you comfortable revealing that? Is that how comfortable we are
I'm
saying that
excited,
that's
man.
a possibility?
I'm excited.
Oh my God.
I'm excited, man. I think there's a really good chance here that we were like Killswitch have done the thing with they've done the best album since 2006. I think there's a real possibility, man. So I'm excited about it. So yeah,
Oh,
with any luck, got to send a few emails, got to kind of kiss a few backsides and hope. But with any luck, we're reviewing the new Killswitch Engage album in 2 weeks' time, and we should also be doing a new EP from God Complex. I believe. I think they've got something new coming out in two
cool,
weeks.
cool.
Up until that time, thank you for listening. Please support us by liking slash subscribing, depending on whichever service you use, and feel free to follow the podcast on X at Noizze Podcast and Noizze UK on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. It's been a pleasure to be with you. We will see you in 2 weeks' time. With any luck, with me lording over new Killswitch Engage, it'll be a great time to be alive. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Keep it heavy. Bye.